Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. Mark Berkowitz joining us here today. He's the owner at Career Development Resources based out of Yorktown Heights, New York. We want to welcome Mark to the show today. We're going to talk about all the work he does and how he can help you, especially working on that resume, cover letter, career changes. He does it all, and he can help, of course, coach you as well. How are you today?
Doing well, thank you.
Mark, how are you?
Are you not hearing me?
There you go. I hear you now.
Okay.
How are you, Mark?
Yep, doing well.
Perfect. We're excited to have you here. And just to start off, I think it's important to give out your website. How can we contact you?
Okay, well, my website is www.careerdevelopmentresource.com.
Perfect. And tell us a little bit about what you do.
Okay, well, I am credentialed with 4 different certifications in the career field. I'm board certified as a National Certified Career Counselor, a certified professional resume writer, internationally certified job and career transition coach, and certified employment interview professional. So I might work with somebody from, gee, what do I want to be when I grow up? Or maybe
Yeah.
their job has ended and we need a career change. I work with people, guiding them through the job search process, help improve their resumes. We find that Americans traditionally spend 80% of their effort on job search channels that at best give them maybe 20% of the results, and also work with people on brushing up their interview skills, the strategy of how to successfully sell their potential contribution to an organization, and the skills in negotiation.
Great. Well, we're excited to have you here. And before we dive into more details about the work you do and, of course, how you could help, I want to find out more about you. Tell us where you were born and raised, and give us a little bit of your background and what brought you here into this field.
Well, born in the Bronx, raised pretty much in Fairfield County, Connecticut. Originally went to school for a degree to be a teacher, and I taught industrial arts, technology education for quite a while. At one point, ran into a reduction in force. So I wasn't fired, but my position got eliminated. And okay, what do I do? And from that point, I started working over maybe a 10-year period to moving into career services, was involved in different types of career programs, both through the New York City Board of Education as well as lots of things in the suburbs. Got my second master's degree in career counseling, career development, and obtained those other certifications, and have been doing this for 35 plus years.
Wow, impressive. Thank you so much for sharing that. And let's get started with all the different things that you could do to help people. It's exciting. So I know to start, you looks like you want to talk a little about being a certified professional resume writer.
Well, these days, almost anybody can hang up a shingle, and if they get paid, well, okay, therefore I'm a professional because I get paid for the services rendered. And I find that there are people out there that have, I don't know, basically a boilerplate template. They fill in your information and bingo, here's your new resume, as opposed to somebody who knows the strategies of the job search process, how to really show what people can do. Because again, when you approach the employment market, you have to think of yourself as the product to be sold. The employer is essentially the buyer, but the product to be sold now gives you job number one, because you are, the salesperson for that job. And rule number one for salespeople is to know your product. What are the features and benefits? Okay, and I generally tell people that there are 5 different questions that the resume has to answer, which we can get into in more detail. But I find that most people If they've done their own resume or a friend, family member has given them a hand, I see a document that to my eyes reads like a tombstone. Here lies so-and-so, went to this school, got a certain degree in a particular year. When we get to the employment history, okay, we get the company name, the job title, the dates of employment. So far, so good. However, when we get to those bullet point statements, things just tend to go downhill from there because people tend to just absolutely flood their resumes with statements such as duties include A, B, and C, or was responsible for X, Y, and Z. Okay, that second one, responsible, is very passive, and I consider it to be the greater sin because here's what it really says. Okay, here's what I was sort of kind of supposed to do, but A, doesn't say that I actually did it, or B, answer the question, is this guy any good at what he does? Okay, because remember, the employer usually has some kind of a problem that needs solving, and if we don't demonstrate that we're the answer to their prayers, we never even get the invite for the interview.
Now, just a quick question. Old school, we used to send that resume in the mail, right?
Mhm.
Nowadays, are we using all the electronics? Are we using LinkedIn? So how does the resume differ from the old version compared to, the way it should be now?
It depends. For the most part, it could be, just the way we've been doing it for the last 10 years or so. It needs to be aggressive. It needs to not be the tombstone resume, but it can be posted on LinkedIn, although LinkedIn works better if you're actually stating things like, I feel this is what I've discovered, here's what, really turns me on, type of thing. But I generally counsel people to do some research and use as many methods of contacting the company as possible. Okay, email is one, posting the resume on the company's employment website, uh, using the fax and old school snail mail. Okay, in marketing, they talk about spaced repetition. Uh, so if, well, let's say that I'm that employer, I come into my office in the morning and I see a fax that's on, the fax machine. I see it a little bit. A little while later, I'm checking my email and now I see the resume. I might read a little bit farther into it. Okay, now at this point, we've gotten our stuff presented twice, and a couple of days later, here comes the resume in the mail on nice paper. So now
Ah,
we've presented
mhm.
ourselves 3 times. So we are less anonymous than all of the other candidates. And we're also demonstrating something really important. Hey, I don't let things fall between the cracks. I want to make sure that that this document gets through. Uh, and it puts a really good first impression with the boss rather than somebody who only sent it via email.
I like that technique. And there's always something good about a hard copy, like a newspaper, like a resume. It shows effort or a handwritten thank you card.
Well, when
And
it's on nice paper, you can feel the difference between that and photocopy paper.
no,
And, when it comes to, the interview, having stuff that's on good paper that looks nice and clean, as opposed to something that got ripped off of a fax machine, or it's been duplicated on a smudged photocopy machine and it's kind of crooked, we need to look our best also.
now cover letters are important too, right?
Oh, absolutely, because you have only 2 chances to sell yourself into the interview. And, resume is one, the cover letter is another. And people ask me, well, which is more important? And I'll say, they're both really important. If you're running to catch a train, which is more important, your right foot or your left foot? They both need to be designed to work together. But the cover letter gives you the opportunity of expressing, in the course of a paragraph, which our language arts teachers tell us have, at least 5 sentences, but you can say things. I've always felt that. it's my philosophy of education, thus and such. One of the greatest challenges that I've ever had to face was such and such. So it breathes a little bit more because the statements on the resume are, pretty much like those short headlines, that you'd find in the newspaper or what comes scrolling across the bottom of our TV screens.
And did you want to talk a little bit more about cover letters and interview coaching? I mean, there's a lot to what you do. I'm not sure how much we'll get into for today.
Uh, well, cover letters need to answer questions such as, why is this candidate contacting me? What kind of a position is it they're looking for? Deliver fairly succinctly the amount of expertise that they have, what their skill set is, what kinds of benefits that they can offer. And one of the things that I found to be really successful uh, is a resume that will then split in the middle into two different columns. And from the job posting on the internet, or believe it or not, there are people still getting hired through the help wanted ads in newspapers. It's still
Mm-hmm.
happening, but with their requirements. Okay, here are two columns on the resume on the
Okay.
cover letter, and one of them will say, your requirements, and the other my qualifications, and you can literally answer things one to the next. Okay,
Hmm.
you're looking for this. Here's what I've got. You're looking for a degree. Hey, I got two. I got the bachelor's and I got my MBA, so on and so forth, and do a really, really good job selling it. So now they've got a sense of value before they've even looked at the resume.
Ah, beautifully said. Well, thank you for that. All right. And just remind everyone how we can reach out to you. We still have some time, but I want to make sure we are reminding people who are just tuning in that Mark Berkowitz is here and he can help you. Career development resources. Tell us the website one more time.
Okay, it's www.careerdevelopmentresource.com. There is a contact page there. They can also reach me via email, okay, which is, I'll say it and then I'll spell it out. It's cardevres1@gmail. So that would be CARDEVRES with the
Okay.
numeral one at Hotmail. Or my preferred method is, hey, pick up the telephone. We can have a conversation, and I can be
Yes.
reached at area code 914-962-1548. I mean,
Beautiful.
sometimes people fill out the contact page and okay, they haven't given me a clue as to what kind of assistance they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how can I help them if I don't know what they're looking for? At least this way, a short conversation, and we're both on the same page.
Perfect. What else did you want to go down the line of today for some of the other products and services you provide?
Well, uh, teaching people how to do the job search more effectively. And
Mm-hmm.
some of the things are so incredibly simple, but it's not being taught. And at a seminar that I did a while back for some about to graduate MBAs, they were telling me that the stuff that we were talking about was more valuable than what they found out in 2 years worth of graduate
Mm-hmm.
school. And I can't believe that they're just not teaching that in school.
Wow.
But, you're looking through the postings or the help wanted ads. There
Mm-hmm.
isn't any rhyme or reason as to how a job is classified. Okay, in law
Interesting.
enforcement, should I look under C for cop, D for detective, I for investigator, uh, S to security? On a good day, I can do at least 18 of those. Okay, one company's financial analyst is another company's business analyst.
Yep.
One day, here I am looking for things, just because I had a little bit of time to kill. And I
Mm-hmm.
found one that was interesting to me. Not that I'm looking for a job, but it was under M for management, and it was director of career planning and placement at a local university. I never would have thought to look under M. So look, literally from A to Z, because you don't know what the company calls that job. And when you're looking at the ads, you're getting some valuable intel. What do
Yeah.
they call the job? What is it that they at least think they're looking for. And I generally counsel people, if you've got even 30% of what they say that they're looking for, go for it. Because these days it costs you literally nothing to become an applicant, unless you're going through the mail where you need an envelope, and the postage stamp. Uh, and frequently some of the stuff that's put there in terms of the requirements that they're looking for really aren't part of the job. It might just be based on the last person who held that job.
Got it.
Follow up with a phone call, because hey, if I'm that boss and you're calling me up to say, oh, just want to make sure you got my resume.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna feel really foolish as that boss saying, well, gee, I'm not even sure if I've gotten it. Hold on, let me check. And they'll go flipping through the pages, and candidates of mine who have done that, they
Yeah.
usually wind up with an interview within 2 or 3 days, because now their resume, which might be buried in a stack of hard copy resumes or buried somewhere on their website. Okay, this person is now looking for it, and okay, now they're actually looking at it.
Mm-hmm. Well, this
So
is
it helps accelerate the process.
well, this is great work that you're doing and helping so many. How has the job world changed since post pandemic? Because are a lot of people still working from home, want jobs from home? How are you seeing that? And any advice you want to give when it comes to, the new generation of what are we doing wrong on our resumes? Maybe you want to point out some of those red flags that we shouldn't do.
Okay, well, answering the first question, it's, from my perspective, split pretty much 50-50 in terms of people wanting a job where they're going to the workplace. The other half are generally looking for hybrid jobs where maybe they only have to go into the office once or twice a week and are able to work at home the rest of the time. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Talking about the mistakes on the resumes, well, people can contact me, or you'll probably find it posting where I have a fairly detailed article, Avoiding the Circular File, which lists a lot of the common mistakes that people make on the resume, such as being too general, being too much of selling their personal history
Mm-hmm.
rather than potential boss. Here's what I can do for you. Here's why you might be better off having me on your team rather than somebody else, that has the same degree or similar kind of experiences, because not all employees are created equal. Some of them are more energetic, some of them are smarter, some of them are really good problem
Really?
solvers,
Yeah.
and best of all, some people are really good problem preventers.
Mm.
Uh, the resume has to be imaged. Hey, if you're fresh out of school, you cannot make yourself look like like a CEO, like a high-powered executive. Uh, One of my colleagues, even years back, was saying, hey, I never ever use an objective. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people that feel the objective is old fashioned. However, if you're first beginning a career, what better way than to say that you're looking for a position as thus and such, which will benefit from, is some of the kind of experience that I have and benefit from my skills, thus and such, in order to, and you give them a payoff. Okay.
Yeah.
Help students learn to read before they've left first grade, increase sales, deeper market penetration. It all depends on their particular profession, where somebody that's got some experience might be better off titling themselves, uh, where it's a corporate sales executive, and then go into a positioning statement where if they put the objective, they're going to look, like they really haven't been around the block at all.
Yeah.
So, what makes you look proper? How are you going to show that you fit in with that particular work environment? And what is the language, the terminology used in that? Okay, I'm sure everybody out there can relate to needing to know something about Microsoft Word. Well, in schools and colleges, they're teaching courses. It could be the business ed teacher, the computer science teacher, the technology teacher, which will use their teaching skills to teach a lesson. Okay, here's a large corporation or even a law firm. We got to get all our folks up to speed on the newer features of Microsoft Word. Are they going to hire the moonlighting school teacher after school hours, or hire a corporate trainer, excuse me, training and development professional? Now, the training and development professionals talk about platform and presentation skills. They deliver a presentation. So what's the difference between the teacher using teaching skills and teaching a lesson and the training and development professional using their platform and presentation skills to deliver a presentation? So depending on if we're looking at a change in career or a change in industry or a change in environment, what's going to be the most compatible and make you sound like, yeah, you really do belong in that environment. You've been there before.
Perfect. We still got 2 minutes left. And how did you kind of want to sum up today's show? Being it's our first show together, we're getting to know all the services that you provide. And I know you're based out of New York, but you work virtual with people all over, right?
Yeah, I've worked with people long distance in the Philippines. Years ago, I was one of the resume experts on AOL's online career center. So I've worked
I
with,
still use AOL. I do.
yeah,
I love them. Yes.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Uh, my,
Impressive.
my wife will not give up AOL,
Same here.
uh, but had quite a few from the Pacific Rim. Some of my clients who had been local, are now on the other side of the country, California, Texas, etc. And I'm still able to work with them. Uh,
Amazing.
for people out in the audience, they can contact me with particular questions or contact the show in terms of what kinds of questions do they have? What are some of the problems that they
Yeah.
have? One of the big things that I'm finding is for folks just coming out of school or even out of school for maybe 7 years, they'll tend to use text speech
Oh, yeah.
on business communications
Mm-hmm.
rather than being a little bit more formal.
Yep.
How to present their message, how to make it come across, how to give the right impression. Because let's face it, somebody who isn't educated in terms of the business world can give a company the black eye.
Yep.
And I'll give you an example. A number of years ago, where I was running the Career Assessment and Counseling Center for the Southern Westchester Board of Educational Cooperative Services, I was a little bit late arriving back to my home office, and my private practice is, 35 years plus. My young daughter, who was still in elementary school,
Oh.
answered daddy's phone. And I'm sure she said something like, Career Development Resources, how may we help you? And it was one of my pre-existing
Oh.
clients that was calling up because they needed an update. And when I spoke to them in person, because my daughter took down all of the information, Mark, have you gotten so big that you now have a full-time receptionist? And had absolutely no idea he was talking to a 9-year-old little girl at the
Oh
time.
my goodness, how impressive. That's wonderful. Runs in the family.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it does.
Oh, wow. That's a great story, Mark. Let me ask for those listeners out there who want to contact you, how can we do so? And do you offer a discovery call?
Yeah, I extend a no cost, no obligation consultation, could be, 40, 60 minutes or so to make sure that, yes, I'm qualified to solve their problem. Their problems are realistic, and very importantly, that we're able to work together because there are some folks out there that they think they know it all and they're not going to hear any difference.
All right. One more time. Website?
Website is careerdevelopmentresource.com.
Perfect.
Email cardevres1, so that's CARDEVRES1 at Gmail, or my first choice is telephone area code 914-962-1548.
All right. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you here, getting to know you, our fellow New Yorker, and looking forward to the next time we get to speak. Thanks so much.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.